Hey, welcome to Anime What Ifs. This is part 5 of What If Naruto Married Temari. Naruto awoke with a groan. Ugh, white walls, bright lights, I hate hospitals. It took some effort, but he managed to sit up and promptly blinked in confusion when he saw Ino and Temari sleeping in the chairs next to his bed. He understood why Temari was here. She was his fiancée after all, but what in hell was Ino doing there? He stifled a snort when he saw a thin line of drool on the normally fashion-conscious girl. I wish I had a camera. I bet Sakura-chan would love a picture of this. Moving quietly, he found his clothes and prepared one of his best jutsu, Ninpo, Hospital Escape no Jutsu, which was a very high-level move that involved him and an open window. Sadly, people who know him were prepared, and even as he jumped out the window, he found himself snagged by the collar and dragged back into the room. Nah, come on Kakashi-sensei, I hate this place. Let me go please? He said, attempting to use the dreaded puppy eyes no jutsu on his sensei. Mama Naruto, sorry. Hokage-sama threatened to burn my books if I let you get away. The lazy jonin replied without taking his eyes from his book. Glancing up at the sleeping girls, he turned one of his infamous eye smiles on Naruto. I'm so proud of you, my little adorable little genin. 2 girls sleeping in your hospital room. I almost feel tears of pride forming. Flushing in embarrassment, Naruto retorted hotly. It's not like that, sensei. I know why Temari is here, I mean we're getting married, but I have no idea why she's here. He pointed at Ino. Quieting down, he asked the 2 questions burning through his head. Sensei, how long have I been out? And what happened with Team? Kakashi stalled for time, carefully placing his book away. Well, the first question is easy to answer, Naruto. You've been unconscious for 4 days. Chuckling a bit at Naruto's groan, he paused and decided to answer the last question. As for Sasuke, they managed to keep him alive, and they even reattached his arm, but they don't think he'll ever fully recover. Sighing, he got to the worst part. Naruto, Sasuke will never be returned to active duty as a shinobi. Hearing the words, Naruto wasn't really shocked. He had seen Sasuke's arm blown off, but it still hurt. Sasuke was his teammate and he, no one else, had destroyed a talented shinobi and ruined his friend's dreams. Can't Bachan fix him? She fixed bushy brows, right? That was way worse. The words just spilled from his mouth. Eyeing his student, Kakashi decided that, while painful, he needed to tell Naruto the full truth before he convinced himself that he was to blame for what happened. Naruto, even if he still had full use of his arm, Sasuke would have been pulled from the ranks. Ignoring the look of shock on Naruto's face, Kakashi pressed on. The containment seal placed over Hibi Team's curse seal, and I do like that name by the way, was reliant on Sasuke's will. He willingly broke it and drew on the power of the curse seal, directly against orders. In addition to that, he used an assassination jutsu on a fellow Leaf Nin in a friendly match. Hokage-sama has ruled that we cannot afford to have such a loose cannon. Shrugging, Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. It wasn't your fault, Naruto. Shrugging the hand of his shoulder, Naruto stalked back over to his bed and sat down. He understood what Kakashi said, but he still felt guilt burning at him. Sasuke being removed as a shinobi as a result of his own behavior eased some of his burden, but it felt as if it was his fault for pushing him that far. If Naruto had not started their rivalry, Sasuke would have never felt the need to use the seal on him. He was pulled from his thoughts by a squeal, and suddenly found himself on the floor as he was tackled by a blonde blur. Hey, you're awake. That's awesome. Dada boyo. He froze in shock as Ino continued to hold him, and he vaguely noticed that Kakashi seemed far more amused than surprised. Dada boyo? What the hell? I was so worried you weren't going to wake up, Dada boyo, the blonde rambled on. With another squeal, Naruto found himself being shaken. Don't ever do something like that again, Dada boyo. Prying the overexcited girl off, Naruto found himself wondering exactly what sort of hell he had found himself in. His feeling of doom increased when he noticed that Temari was also awake and staring at Ino in a rather frightening manner. He began to panic as he tried to think up some sort of explanation for what was going on, but he was drawing a blank. It was like some sort of dream. Wait a minute, a dream, or a genjutsu? Forming the seal, Naruto attempted to disperse what he was convinced had to be a genjutsu. Kai, he yelled, forcing an almost visible wave of chakra across the room. To his surprise, nothing changed except for the fact that Kakashi started laughing so hard tears formed in his eye and Ino looked rather insulted. "Alright," he yelled, pointing at Ino, "what in hell is going on here?" Ino looked sheepish, placing her hand to the back of her neck and shot Naruto what looked a lot like his foxy grin minus the whisker marks. "Ano, it's complicated, Naruto, but there were some side effects to when I was stuck in your mind." Correctly interpreting his current facial expression to read, "Continue before I do something you won't like," the girl continued her story. "When you stabbed yourself, and I can't believe you did that, I was able to release the jutsu, but the fox hit me in a last-ditch effort, and I was thrown through all of your memories." Naruto stared at her, horrified. Hastily, she continued trying to explain. "Yes, it was really unpleasant. I never would have dreamed what you went through, but it beat being eaten by the furball Data Boyo. As a result of that, according to my dad, your personality was sort of merged with my own. Dad says it won't last all that long. My personality is becoming more and more dominant every day, but for now, I'm still showing some of your more irritating quirks." Without saying anything, Naruto lay back on the bed and pulled the blankets up over his head. "Somebody wake me when the nightmare ends, please." "Hey! That was rude, Data Boyo." A sudden thought struck Naruto like a bolt of lightning and he shot up in the bed, leaning over to whisper in Ino's ear. "You have all my memories?" "Hi, I do." Ino whispered back. "And why are we whispering?" "All of them? Everything I've ever done?" Hi, everything." Ino smirked. "I can't believe some of the stuff you got away with, but now I understand why Temari-chan," with a frown she paused and considered, Temari-san, "stepped in to stop you during the match with Kiba." Naruto flushed a deep red and lay back down. "Okay, I think I'm gonna sleep now. Hopefully when I wake up, this will have just been a nightmare." It was several hours later when Naruto woke. His door to his room opened. He sat up and cleared some of the sleep from his eyes. "Hiya, Bachan, come to spring me?" Ignoring the urge to strangle him, Tsunade smirked back at him. "Yeah, Gaki. You should be able to return home soon, but there's some things we have to dash. She was cut off by an excited yell of "Yatta!" Easily remedied by a quick tap to his head. Ignoring the somewhat glazed look, Tsunade rapidly checked his health. She wasn't really sure why she bothered. She passed it off as the professional mednin in her, but as usual, the Gaki was in perfect health, except for a mild concussion that would clear on its own. "Alright Gaki, I heard from Cyclops that you know what happened to Ino and Sasuke, but there are several things they didn't tell you. First, there was an issue caused by an overload of similar jutsu, which caused everything to be displayed to the audience." Seeing the panic in his eyes, she ruffled his hair. "Yes, that means everyone knows everything. Your parents, your burden, and what you did at the end. I'm proud of you, Naruto, but I'm also angry with you. You are supposed to be Hokage after me, aren't you?" Ignoring the boy's protest, she found her volume increasing to almost a yell in spite of her restraint. "You took the most self-sacrificing option you had and didn't even bother to search for any other way to accomplish your goals. Damn it, Naruto, I almost lost you. Again." She wasn't sure when she started to cry, but before she knew it she was, and Naruto was attempting to comfort her. "Bachan, I know it was bad, but I really didn't see another option. I couldn't let Ino die because of the fox, and we both know he doesn't want to die. It was painful, but I stabbed myself in the stomach because it wouldn't be fatal. I figured that as soon as Ino was out, you would be able to heal me. And you did, so everything worked out." Wiping her tears, Tsunade stood up. "Alright Gaki, get moving. And I talked to Temari, she's been worried about you." Waving distractedly at her, Naruto began to walk out the door before he stopped and viciously smacked himself. Stupid, 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 stupid. He muttered under his breath. What's bugging you, Gaki? Tsunade queried. Well, when I tried to escape this hellhole, when I tried to leave the hospital earlier, I totally forgot that I have H seals all over my home. Shrugging, he focused on the tag in his living room and smirked. Taste the freedom, Bachan. I'm free. When he reappeared, Naruto felt that he may have jumped straight out of the frying pan and into the fire. Annoying Bachan was fun, if somewhat dangerous, but he hadn't thought when he flashed to his living room that he would end up in the middle of what seemed to be a kunoichi convention. Wait, why are they here? And why are they so angry? Feeling massively outnumbered, not that it intimidated him, he told himself firmly, he focused on the H seal in the study and called out, if you need me, I'll be in my study, before he flashed away. Before the assembled women could say anything, he flashed back. Almost forgot, when you are finished with our guests, I need to speak with you, Temari-chan. Flashing back to the study, Naruto let out a sigh of relief at having survived 2 trips into the kunoichi group. Naruto's surprise entrance had been a blessing for Temari. Ever since she had arrived at her home, with Ino following her like a lost puppy, she had been swarmed by all the kunoichi that seemed to know Naruto. As the daughter of a Kage, hospitality had been drilled into her from early childhood, but as the day went on, she felt like ripping her ponytails off in sheer frustration. She had been pleased that Ino decided to wait for Naruto with her. They need to talk privately, anyway, the sooner the better. Shortly before they had arrived, they were ambushed by Tenten and a surprisingly forward Hinata, both of whom were concerned about Naruto's health, and surprisingly, with Temari's well-being. It kept escalating from there. Kurenai and Anko had crossed their path and decided to tag along, feeling it was their duty as older kunoichi to make sure the younger generation was doing well. Shizen and Sakura seemed to materialize somewhere along the way, and completely monopolized the conversation. She was surprised to find a small army of foxes milling about her yard, but surprise quickly morphed into acceptance. Life with Naruto had been like moving from one bizarre event to the next. She frowned as the foxes bowed respectfully as she passed, like she was a queen, and she hurried to get everyone inside. Being inside wasn't much better. She was immediately bombarded with questions. What were the wedding plans? Was Naruto treating her right? Was she happy? Did she miss Tsunade? What was going on with all of the foxes? It was enough to drive a saint insane, and Temari had been very, very close to grabbing her fan and dispensing some pain when Naruto arrived. Shooing the women out of the house was difficult, but eventually she managed to get rid of almost everyone, pointedly sending Ino into the kitchen to make ramen and wait. She needed to talk to Naruto, but after that stunt in the hospital, she also really needed to murder her, talk to her. Entering the study, Temari found Naruto lost in thought as he stared out the window at the fox-covered grounds. Unless she was very much mistaken, the look on his face indicated he was both amused and annoyed. Silently crossing over to him, she placed her hand on his shoulder and was surprised and pleased when he absently reached up and began to gently stroke her hand. It was the first truly intimate contact they had, and it made her stomach flutter pleasantly. Temari-chan, he spoke quietly, so as not to ruin the peaceful aura. You know anything about why our grounds are covered by foxes? I thought you knew. They were here when I came back from the hospital. It was odd though, when I passed by several of them, they bowed to me. I probably ought to figure out what's going on then. Got something to keep you busy in the meantime? Temari scowled. Yeah, I still have to have a chat with Ino. I have her stashed downstairs. With a sigh, Naruto stood up, giving her one last pat on the hand. Please be nice. If she really did absorb my memories, I'm amazed she didn't commit suicide. I would bet just about anything that she is using my old cheerful idiot mask as a cover. With a small sad smile, he gazed into Temari's eyes. Under that mask is a rage fit to burn the world, Temari. Be careful, please. Temari felt taken aback. In her irritation, she had forgotten that Naruto had a similar background to her brother. It was a miracle he had come out whole, and Ino had been forced to live those long years in mere seconds of agony. It wasn't surprising that the poor girl was clinging to the one person she knew would understand and could help her. Reaching up, she lightly ran a finger over one of Naruto's whisker marks, amusing herself at the quiet purr it caused. "Alright, you made your point. I'll do what I can to help her. Thanks, Temari-chan," he said with a smile that could light up the night. The sort of smile that made a woman, who grew up in an unstable world of violence, feel like everything was going to be okay. She found she couldn't help herself. She leaned down and pulled him into a firm embrace. She wasn't terribly surprised that he didn't really seem to know how to respond. Still, he wasn't fighting her, and that was more than enough. Naruto was confused. He knew what hugs were, but he really didn't think he had ever received one. It was a nice feeling, being wrapped up in someone's arms. All of his anger slipped out of him like water over a stone, and he relaxed into Temari's arms, gently returning the affection. He remembered how much she seemed to like it when he stroked her hands, and he decided to see if the same was true for her back. He was pleased with his efforts when the girl seemed to relax even more as a result. He didn't really want to end it, but they both had things to do, so he reluctantly broke away. "Gomen Temari-chan, but I need to go see about the foxes, and I believe you have someone you need to talk to." Sighing in frustration, Temari nodded her agreement and headed downstairs to check on her blonde foe. Or was it friend? Seeing the girl in question idly tapping her fingers on the table as she daydreamed, Temari braced herself and went forth to do battle, gently. Naruto entered his backyard as he considered the foxes gathered there. He knew that ever since Kyuubi's attack, foxes had not fared well in Konoha, but why had they gathered here on his estate? There were far less than he had assumed, perhaps a dozen family groups total. He hid his surprise as a large gray and red fox approached him and bowed. "Greetings, Lord Regent, I beg forgiveness, but it is urgent we speak." Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. What's going on here?" "My name is Reynard, Lord Regent." Holding up his hand to stop the fox, Naruto queried, "Lord Regent?" Bowing again, the fox explained. "You hold Lord Kyuubi inside your body, my lord, and as such, until his return, you are his regent." Please continue, but I'm not much for formality, please just call me Naruto." Naruto responded. "As you wish, Naruto-sama. We have gathered here to request sanctuary. For years, our kind have been hunted here in Konoha. All that have survived are gathered here. As our regent, we humbly request your help." Eyes widening, Naruto did another quick count. This is it, he thought incredulously. It had seemed like a lot of animals to be in one place, but if they were all that was left, their species was on the verge of extinction. "Very well, Reynard. The kitsune are welcome on these grounds. You should be safe here. I'll talk to Lady Hokage in the morning to find a more permanent solution, but is there anything I can do now?" Naruto-sama. The kits need urgent care, and I fear some of our members have been poisoned from the traps set up in the woods. Their wounds are not healing as they should. If I can arrange a non-hostile veterinarian, will the others be willing? It should not be an issue, Naruto-sama, if you are present. The kitsune finds solace in your presence. With yet another sigh, Naruto waved for Reynard to follow him. "I suppose we need to go see the Inuzuka clan. I'm not sure how well their Ninken will react to your presence, but I suspect I will need you." "As you wish, Naruto-sama." The trip to the Inuzuka compound was something of an eye-opener for Naruto. He was used to glares of hatred or icy silence, having people wave at him as he passed, or groups of girls giggling as they followed him was downright unnerving. No one seemed to even notice Reynard trotting along beside him, and that was even stranger. He really doubted people would change their minds that fast, even if they had seen everything that happened in his head, so it was with some relief when he arrived at the Inuzuka gates. Short-lived relief when he spotted the dark-haired, feral figure of Tsume Inuzuka leaning against the gates. Well, what brings Minato and Kushina's puppy to me today?" Eyeing Reynard, she added, "and with a guest, I see." "It's to help the foxes, it's to help the foxes." Stay calm, be respectful. Taking a deep breath, Naruto and Reynard explained what happened and what help they needed as respectfully as possible. Naruto was extremely polite. He had several run-ins with Tsuma in the past because of his pranks, and the woman scared him even more than Crazy Snake Lady. Tsum was not happy that canines, even if they were foxes, had almost been hunted into extinction near Konoha. An agreement was quickly struck allowing Inuzuka vets and their Ninken into Namake's grounds to treat the foxes and train Naruto in animal husbandry. In return, Clan Namakes would pay a yearly fee and would allow young Inuzuka access to fox kits as possible partners. The hope was that when members of a large and influential clan began working with fox partners, the fear and hatred of the foxes would slowly die away. Satisfied with the deal struck, and considering other options he may have regarding the foxes, Naruto and Reynard led a handful of Inuzuka vets back to the estate. Temari was having issues. Specifically a blonde issue that was now wrapped around her, sobbing. She had intended to politely talk to Ino about staying the hell away from her fiancé, then work with the girl regarding her new emotional issues. Sadly, almost as soon as she got the Yamanka's attention, Ino had simply exploded. "I don't get it," she screamed. "I can't even go through town without wanting to kill almost everyone I meet, including myself. I see people I know I've had good times with, and then his memories flash in my head and I see how they treated him and I just want them to burn." Suddenly the girl stopped and flashed Temari a foxy grin. "Nah, did you need to talk about something, Temari-chan?" Temari eyed the girl, and despite everything her heart went out to her. Ino didn't have the sheer will that Naruto did to bury or channel the rage and hate, and if something wasn't done, Ino would simply explode before her normal personality resurfaced. Temari pulled the girl into a hug where she promptly broke down and cried, and almost 2 hours later Ino was still there. Temari was not a real touchy-feely kind of girl at the best of times, and being sobbed on for a couple of hours had not improved her mood, but it was a necessary evil. It wasn't surprising that when Naruto came wandering back in from supervising the Inuzuka vets, Temari damn near threw Ino at him. "I can't deal with this anymore, you do it," she yelled as she stomped off. "Naruto, how do you do it? How do you block this out?" Ino begged, disregarding Temari's absence. "Ino, you have to find a goal and focus everything into it. I strive to be Hokage. I put everything into it, and when I gain that goal, I will prove to everyone who ever doubted or hurt me that they were wrong. That's how I deal with it. For now, I need to ask you to go home. Talk with your dad, clear your head, do things that you, Ino, like to do. Hopefully that will help drive back my memories and let you get back on with your life." Naruto gently smiled at her. "You are welcome here to talk or train whenever, Ino, but right now, I need to spend time with my fiancé. With everything that's happened, I feel I've neglected Temari." After escorting Ino out, Naruto wandered the house until he found Temari sitting on the rail of the back balcony, watching the fox kits play in the yard. "Gomen Temari-chan," he said softly to avoid startling her. "I didn't realize how bad my memories were affecting her." Sighing, Temari continued to face the yard. "It's not your fault. When she was clinging to me, I realized all the suffering that you and my brother suffered. If I tried, I could have been there for Gaara. Maybe I could have stopped him from snapping." Walking closer, Naruto wrapped his arms around her from behind. "It wasn't your fault, Temari-chan. Gaara told me before he left that your father never allowed you to be near him when he was younger. When you finally met, it was already too late. But you're there for him now, and that is what's important." Temari relaxed back into his embrace, surprised with how comfortable she felt being held by the boy. In Sunagakure, everyone had feared her father or her brother, and she spent much of her time alone or with Kankuro. Somehow, the maddening and confusing boy holding her had broken through her defenses, and rather than be threatened by it, she felt safe. "Temari-chan, do you want to go out for dinner? I can show you all my favorite spots around town." She smiled, even though he couldn't see it. "Yes, I think I would like that. Hope you liked this episode. The next one is coming soon.